Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the One Talk podcast. You hear your host, Ryan McCarthy. And today we are joined by Caroline Bakker. On today's episode, we discuss her journey in health, wellness, and mindfulness. After moving to Australia 15 years ago and being inspired by the active, healthy lifestyle, Caroline became a personal trainer and now creates meditations to help people holistically improve their well-being. On today's episode, she shares how she overcame depression and adrenal fatigue as a new mum by incorporating daily practices such as sunlight, affirmations, meditation, and so much more. We also talk about the importance of self-care and modeling mindfulness for our children and the people around us. Caroline offers great insights to manifestation, limiting beliefs, responding skillfully to life's challenges, reprogram the subconscious mind, and so much more. I can't wait for you to check out today's episode and enjoy. In other news, if you could please leave this podcast a rating, it means so much in terms of helping this podcast grow and reaching a larger audience and getting this message out there. So if you're on Apple Podcasts or if you're on Spotify, if you could leave a follow and also a rating. If you're on YouTube, if you could subscribe, thumbs up, that would mean so much. But without further ado, let's welcome Caroline.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. The marathon continue. Victory lap tonight, though. Victory lap tonight.
Welcome to the One Talk podcast with Ryan McCarthy.
The marathon continues. That's what you would say.
Welcome, Caroline. Thank you for joining the One Talk podcast. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I've been a big admirer of your work. I've been doing your meditations for the last 6 months or so. I really enjoy the content that you share as well and how you shift your perspectives on things that you've been through, but also how you share that into the world. But I'd love to start this podcast if you could just give us like a description of yourself or maybe tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, I'm Caroline and we've just moved to Dubai. I've lived in Australia for the last 15 years where I've done personal training, group fitness, and where I've helped a lot of people look at their overall health, focusing on holistic health, not just the training and nutrition, but more so looking at blood testing as well and focusing on their mental health, which is one of the things why I started the mindfulness meditations. That was back in 2021. So now I just work from home. I write and produce content that I love. And I feel that all the obstacles I've been through in my life, I'm able to transform them, transmute that energy into like a positive message for other people and help them along the way.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, because before we get into the overcoming challenges part, I just had a thought about, I like to understand as well for myself and the audience here, like what was the reason why you got into the health space to begin with, like overall mental health, spiritual health, physical health, like what really sparked that for yourself?
Basically, it was my own journey of trying to find out who I am and on a deeper level, not being satisfied with the way I looked and felt. You know, that's how I started. So I moved to the Sunshine Coast in Queensland in 2009, where I did one semester at the University of the Sunshine Coast. But I didn't, like I stayed up there for like 8 years in Queensland because I loved it that much. I didn't end up going back home to the Netherlands. So yeah, I was living in the beautiful, you know, the Sunshine Coast, it has got beautiful beaches, blue skies, lots of sun days, you know, not the day after Saturday, but the day that's got lots of sun. And everybody was just walking and running on the boulevard. Everybody was out and about, strutting their beautifully fit and healthy bodies. And it just had the most amazing vibe. And I looked at all those people and I thought, how can I look like that? So from one thing comes another, and I joined a group fitness class. And from there on, I did 1 class a week and 3 classes a week, and then learned about going to the gym and lifting weights and eating healthy. And I loved it that much that I actually started to study Certificate 3 and 4 in fitness, and then became a personal trainer. And that's how it all rolled. It just was amazing.
That's awesome because like I'm up the sunny coast myself about 5 days a week and I love it. Like what you said, like when I go up there, the people up there are so friendly, seem so chill and relaxed. Like it's less tense than I guess more of like a city environment, isn't it?
100%. It is so relaxed. And that was really what appealed to me, just the laid back environment. And yeah, everybody's friendly. Everybody says hello, how are you? And I really think it is the sun that helps to lift that mood, because basically everyone I met there was just bright and, happy.
Mm. I think it definitely like the sun does play a massive part of fun, especially vitamin D, because I know like the first thing I do when I get up in the mornings is if it's not raining at the moment because it's winter, but usually try getting the sun straight away because it just makes you feel so much better.
100%. And that's the one change that we've made moving here as well. Every morning, as soon as we're up, outside in the sun, get that first morning light right in your eye. Really good.
Yeah. And like, because I know you've just talked about earlier or just before the podcast, we're talking about how you've come through a dark time and also relating back to when you moved to the Sunshine Coast and you wanted to improve your health and physique. Have you always had the mindset of when a challenges arise, you find the way to overcome it? Or is it a battle that you find to juggle within yourself with, I guess, sitting in it and not taking action, then also the tug of war of actually taking the action to overcome it too?
Yeah, so I've always been a person, and I still am that person who always will tackle it head on, even though at the time when you're deep in it, you're not always sure what to do, where to go. But naturally, I'm a type A personality, very competitive. So always looking for more, always looking for other ways, always looking for different alternatives. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it's super important as well because I know a big part of like what you do is manifestation. And manifestation is great, but then also balancing that with action as well. It's like manifesting it with action. Do you find that is also important to have the balance of the two?
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding about manifestation. They just think it is woo-woo, spiritual hoo-ha. But manifestation is actually something that's used by Olympic athletes, because it is about training your brain and your nervous system to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. And that is manifestation. You can call it goal setting, you can call it your aspirations, whatever you name it. It is about creating that mental picture in your mind and then aligning your feelings, your habits, and your actions with how you want to feel. So let's say, for example, let's take this real example of me a couple of months back when I was super depressed, super sleep deprived. I wasn't in a good state. In my mind, I wanted to feel happy, healthy, energetic. I wanted to feel like I had spring in my step, like I wanted to socialize with people. So in my mind, I was thinking of those feelings. And then I pictured every single day in my mind what it is that I could do or how I could act in order to feel that way. So I was basically pretending to be that future version of me here whilst I was still in the depressed state. And for people that have experienced depression or episodes of depression, it is so extremely hard to snap out of that depressed state to even think about something else. Because when you're in the deepest, darkest stuff, it is so hard. Like I always refer to it as the spiral of negative and positive energy. And it is so hard to get out of that negative spiral. But using that manifestation helped me to climb out of that negativity in order to attract the things, the actions, the life, and the lifestyle that I wanted to live and am now living.
That makes so much sense. It's like embodying the person you want to become because I feel like with depression, you may be able to agree with me here, but like when I battled depression myself, it felt like I had the weight vest on my mind. And the one thing I've really had to do to help with that weight vest feeling on my mind was to try and find ways to condition and strengthen it to overcome and to build like resilience, because I feel like you still may get like depressive feelings come back when you do overcome a depression. But I feel like the things that you learn along the way on that journey are really going to be able to support you in times when those feelings do come up again.
Yeah, and I think that's where mindful awareness, the practice of mindfulness and being aware of such feelings, of feeling that weight on your mind, or for me, it was really heavy in my body. It is so good to learn to recognize those feelings, because you're right. Then when it does occur again in the future, you do think, oh, hey, here it is. Here is that feeling again. And this is something that I talk about a couple of times a week on my stories on Instagram, is we have this spiral of emotions. There is a negative spiral and there's a positive spiral. When you're at that point that you can recognize, hey, I'm feeling sadness, I'm feeling disappointment, I'm feeling a weight of heaviness on my mind or on my shoulders. If you keep going with those feelings, you will spiral down lower and lower, eventually to a state of, sadness and deep depression. But when you catch it early enough and you're aware of it and recognize it, and like you say, you can use those strengths and think, hey, I can pick myself up again in order to get to that positive spiral.
Yeah, because like you said, if you're repeating certain thought processes, you're just creating the belief within yourself. And one of the things that truly helped me was guided affirmations. So listening to guided affirmations before I went to sleep, like in that theta brainwave state, and really reprogramming my subconscious mind to create new beliefs, more empowering beliefs. I think that was so important because before that, I feel like when you're on a depressed state, you usually start doing a loop of negative beliefs and negative thoughts about yourself. I find it's really important to shift and change that to something more empowering and positive.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. You couldn't be more spot on, because that's exactly what happens when we're in that state. We are stuck in that bottom loop of negativity and depression. And there are certain ways to snap out of that, CBT, but mindfulness and positive affirmations, reprogram the mind, has been the technique that have helped shift my mindset out of where I was to where I am now. And this is why I preach this and I practice this to my audience online, because it is so important to be aware of that and then choose something else. Because many people are stuck, whether it's stuck in depression, anxiety, stuck in a certain state of they are here, yet they want to be there, or they are here because of a trauma or whatever it is. It was their family, it was their friends, their neighbor, whatever it was. You have the power to take that bull by the horns and to actually say, no, this is enough. Now I am in charge and I will change and shift my mindset now. And it only takes 30 days.
Yeah. Like you said, it takes 30 days, creating new patterns, new beliefs to start taking action. And I feel like that's so important because like I'm really keen to understand on your perspective too, because being sleep deprived for 20 months and having adrenal fatigue mixed with that, like, what was that experience like? And what were some of the things you did to really overcome depression, especially with being sleep deprived for so long?
Yeah, so my depression, it was about 3 months ago, was because I was sleep deprived. I'm a little bit better, but I'm still extremely sleep deprived because my little one just doesn't sleep through the night. And there's nothing wrong with her. That's normal. Kids wake. But we decided from a very young age to co-sleep with her because we feel that's the best choice for us and for her. But in doing so, in not letting your child cry themselves to sleep in their own bed, I choose to sacrifice parts of me. And I sacrificed so much of me that I ended up with a nervous system that was constantly switched on. Because what happens when we sleep, we go through the different cycles of light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep. And you need those cycles, when you look on your Aura ring or on your Whoop, you need those different cycles in order for the body to recoup fully. Now, because my little one wakes, now it's about 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times a night she wakes, but it used to be every 2 hours she wake up. So what that does over time, your body doesn't have the reserves to rebuild that sleeping pattern. because you only get that amount of sleep once a night. Once you're in sleep debt, you can't really make up for it. Yes, you can make up for it by having a nap during the day, which is what I do still today, but you can't actually ever catch up on that, so to speak, because you need that full 7, or for me, it's about 8 to 9 hours of sleep in order to recoup, in order to regenerate all the cells and all the processes in the body. So needless to say, that was very challenging because I chose to do that, and I still do. But like I said, I sacrificed, my own health for that. And because of that, I ended up with adrenal fatigue, which is where the adrenals are underactive. Actually, they're not producing enough to keep up with what's going on in the body. So being aware of that helped me to create a plan, because I'm always very factual and, it's a scientific approach. Okay, we know these are the facts. This is what's happening. This is what I can do in order to combat that. So this is where I realized that depression is actually a ginormous side effect of adrenal fatigue and obviously sleep deprivation. So they all go hand in hand, but having that knowledge in hand empowered me to create a plan. And that plan was, when I do get up in the morning, first thing in the morning, sunlight. I don't drink coffee. I only drink a hot cacao because it's got the minerals, the magnesium. I add in some turmeric for anti-inflammatory purposes. And it is a ritual for me that I do every morning. On top of that, I focused much more on gratitude journaling, manifestation, positive affirmations. And every night I would listen to a track that would help to reprogram my mind, because it's just before you fall asleep. That's the most potent time that your mind is most receptive to reprogramming those neural pathways. So those hurdles, as painful as they were, like if I look back through my journal and read the words that I wrote, I literally could not wait for the day to be over so I could go to sleep and I didn't have to feel those depressed feelings. Like if I look back, it's very sad, but I needed those hurdles in order to get me where I am today, which is now I'm in a position where I can help other people and help them thrive.
In those moments, what was the thing that inspired you the most to keep going, like wanting to evolve and grow and to really beat these feelings that you're feeling?
My little one, always. Yeah,
That's great.
always.
And like, especially
And
when you
that's,
say, oh, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, like, mums that have experienced postpartum depression or depression, even though you feel in a depressed state, when you look at your little one, everything vanishes. You are in that moment, you are so happy with, just looking at your little one, playing with her. It's the best time. But you can still feel those feelings of depression at the same time. It's not one or the other. And that's, I think, a big misconception that a lot of people have. So any moms out there experiencing it, it's okay. You can get through it and you can feel both feelings at the same time.
Yeah. And also the same thing on that too is like there is hope as well for the mothers that are experiencing that too. Like it doesn't have to be something that you have to experience for the rest of your life. Instead, it could be a period, or in other words, it could be a chapter of your life before you move on to the next.
Yeah, and that was one of the affirmations I actually used on a regular basis. This is only temporary. The same as way I look at my little ones not sleeping through the night, it's only temporary. It's not forever.
Yeah, that we shall pass. And I find as well, like it's really cool what you talked about there, because I think that's an important point to touch on. We said the depression was caused by something else, which was the adrenal fatigue, because depression was a side effect of it. But I find with every monster has a shadow. So let's just say the monster is depression. That's the big scary thing. But the shadow behind it is the adrenal fatigue. But if you deal with the thing that's the root cause of it, you start to get, I feel like it makes you a bit more empowered of overcoming the thing within itself, because then you start to have hope that you have control over it.
100%. And this is where I spoke to my GP at the time. He'd been my GP for like 6 or 7 years. He said, yeah, why don't you just try this type of antidepressants? And And there was something in me that said, no, I want to hold off on that. I want to see if there is more. I'm a mom, I'm focused on health and well-being. And I felt that that just didn't align with me at that time. Also, I was still breastfeeding. And I'm so glad I listened to my intuition, because the next thing I did is I booked an appointment with a homeopath. So they look at things in a different way. When I met this physician, he asked me a lot of questions on every area of my life, not just the specific depression, but everything else. And then the next thing he did was, I think it's called, in English, we call it iridology, where they look at your iris.
Yeah, that's it.
And he looked at it. It was silent for a few moments. He made some notes on his paper. And he's like, you're not depressed. You've got adrenal fatigue. And all of a sudden, everything made sense to me. I'm like, aha, see, I knew it wasn't just me. I knew it wasn't crazy. I knew there was something else out there. So with that, I'm just so pleased that I listened to my intuition and followed through with that. Because when you're in a depressed state, you sort of lose yourself, you lose your... It's so easy. Like, I could have easily gone down a path of the pharmacological path. But like I said, I'm so glad that I didn't, and that I chose the alternative. And with that, a modality that worked for me and it helped me heal. And that modality was focused on addressing the root cause, which was addressing the sleep fatigue, or the waking up of the little one, which is something we've been working on for a few months. But also the modality of working with different herbs and tinctures in order to support the body from the inside out and support the mind as well.
Yeah, really being able to explore avenues, I feel like opens up so many more doors. But all that started from the first point of listening to intuition, because I do feel like on a non-physical realm, but more so on the spiritual realm, I feel like we have this knowing, and whether it's the knowing of the external, knowing of an internal, it triggers that intuition within us to maybe spark us in a different direction to find more answers, or to seek more, or to not follow a path that is maybe described to us as the best path to go on. I feel like it's so important to connect to that side of ourselves and really tune into what we feel is right at times as well.
100%. And I'm so glad that I did listen to the intuition. And I feel that that's been something that's been strengthened over time for me, especially since becoming a mom, that I have learned to recognize that. And when people back then, when they suggested, oh, why don't you try sleep school? And there was something inside of me, inside my stomach, instantly said, no, that's not for us. And I'm so glad I did, because then all the content from Dr. Gabor Mate came out about attachment parenting and everything. But that's just one of the examples. Like, when you become a parent, your intuition just strengthens so much. And all this mindfulness practice and meditation that I've been doing has really strengthened my connection to source, because I believe source, universe, God, whatever you call it, runs through all of us. And intuition is one way of saying, hey, hello, I'm poking my head up here. Look at this, listen at this, maybe do this, maybe do that. And the more I got into quieting the ego and being ashamed for the, feelings of depression, or not being able to do certain things, or inadequacies, whatever that was, like, this year has been an extreme shift for me, where I finally learned to let go of all that and listen to source and listen to that.
Connecting to source, I feel like, is one thing that we're on a path of going the other way of. Because I find in this world at the moment, we've got so many distractions. I feel like we're constantly wanting to be entertained as humans, because we've got devices, we've got technology, we've got social media, we've got so many things to direct our point of focus. And I feel like the only time that we're not being entertained, or we're not consuming something, is in the moment when we're trying to sleep. And then even then, we're still trying to process all the thoughts and feelings from the day and trying to play catch up on that. And we don't really get the connection time to source, whether it's universe or God or whatever someone's belief is. So I find scheduling in time to actually have quiet time with mindfulness and meditation is so important to really connect with self and connect to the source.
100% agree with that. And there are so many distractions out there. And that's one of the main messages I get from my clients that I work with. I don't have time. I can't fit it in. And this is where I've started to shift to a method of including it in your lifestyle as is. I think James Clear calls it habit stacking, where you do one habit and you attach another habit on top of that. So for women or for men, when you do your nighttime ritual, when you look in the mirror, cleansing your face, doing your gua sha, your face massage, this is the perfect time for you to connect with source, to connect with yourself, put on some calming tones and repeat the affirmations. Look yourself in the mirror, visualize your goals. You're already doing this. You're already present here. So why not stack it on top of that? And same when you wake up in the morning. Literally, the minute you swing your legs out of bed, say your 2 or 3 affirmations. It doesn't cost you any extra time. You can literally just stack it on top of what you're already doing. But it's that initial shift that you've got to do in order to be mindfully aware, to add that on top of it. But I feel that's the way we're going nowadays, because people don't have half an hour. People don't have an hour, except maybe before they go to sleep, because they can't sleep, is that they listen to something. But this is where I've really shifted as manifestation and reprogramming the mind as a lifestyle.
As a lifestyle, and find the ways to implement it and put it in your schedule. Because like you said before, with the habit stacking, like when you're washing your face in the morning, focus on your breath, become present. And one thing I say to people is like, if you feel like you don't have half an hour a day, then you really need to utilize the moments in between. So maybe that's from walking from the kitchen to the front door to go to your car. Utilize that walk to
Yes.
connect and be present. Maybe it's when you get out your car and then you're walking to the shop. The steps that you take from your car to the shop, utilize those moments in between rather than jumping on your phone or getting distracted on something else. Instead, really utilize these little moments because I feel like they then add up to something bigger as well.
Yeah, exactly. I love that so much, because the same way you can look at it, oh, I don't have time to do 10,000 steps a day. Well, what if you do every hour, you get up from your chair, like I'm standing at a standing desk here, so I can get more activity in. But it's the same way. You do little chunks throughout the day, little movement snacks. And at the end of the day, you've completed your 10,000 steps. But on top of that, I also want to mention that everybody nowadays seems very busy being busy. And it's almost an award to be busy and to not have time. Whereas I feel the shift really needs to occur for people to realize what's truly important in life. And I guess that's something that's shifted in me since becoming a mom. And maybe you'll experience a similar thing when you become a parent, is if it's important to you, you'll make time.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like that is a shift that will be great going forward for a lot of people because I know for me, like a soon to be father, like a goal for me with my family is, I know it sounds like traditional, but I feel like it's getting lost in the sense in the world as well in today's world, is every day have a dinner as a family, no phones. We sit at the table for an hour and everyone talk and we converse and connect. And like for some reason these days, I don't see that much happening. And for me, I find that something super valuable. But I do feel like what you said, trying to go back to some of the old things that we used to do and implement them in today's world would be so much beneficial for us all because I feel like one, we'll all feel better within ourselves and connected to ourselves. But two, I feel like we'll be more connected to the people around us as well.
Yeah, plus on top of that, I feel you'd be setting a really good example for the next generation, because I love the fact that you're saying you want to have family dinner. And that's the one thing we do in our family here. Every day we sit together and have a meal. So my husband's a bodybuilder. He eats, 6 to 8 times a day. So he mightn't always eat with us when dinner is ready for the little one. But we make an effort of it that we sit together at the table without phones. We sit together and have a conversation. And because the weather here in Dubai is so beautiful, we go after dinner. We just bring all together, even my little one, 22 months old, brings her plate to the kitchen. And then we go outside. We kick a ball, we play. I love doing poi, the swinging balls. So I'm learning new poi tricks. My little one can play in the pool. We kick a ball because it's those 30 minutes after dinner that you really want to support your digestive system instead of just sitting back on the couch. So that's our family ritual. For us, it's not an hour sitting. It's, half an hour sitting at the table having dinner and then half an hour playtime. And that's just something that's bonded us together really well. And it's something my little one, she knows what's happening. And family rituals is the best thing.
Yeah, 100% as well. Because like how you said there too, like he's finding ways, like your husband may eat 6 or 7 times a day, but you always find a way to schedule it in because it becomes a habit, becomes something that you look forward to. And I find when people start to create a new habit in their life, at the time, it may seem challenging. But after 21 to 30 days, it just becomes the new normal. It doesn't feel like a challenge to continue that certain habit anymore.
100%. And that's where the power of the mind really comes in, because you can visualize in your head that, okay, after the meeting today, after my work's finished today, we are going to sit down and have dinner. After dinner, we are spending time together doing this. And the more often you go through that in your mind, the more natural it becomes, because your mind, when you're actually doing that action, the mind thinks, oh yeah, I've already been here. I know what to do. I know what comes next.
Hmm. I've got a question for you as well. It's more so a personal one, but I also feel like it would maybe offer a lot of value to the people listening. And I'm also interested because I'm about to be a parent. But for yourself, how did you deal or cope with, I guess, overthinking of, I guess, making sure you do everything correctly as a parent?
That's a very good question. And it was a very challenging situation for me. Like I said, being a type A personality, being the person I am of a high achiever, wanting to get a lot done, creating a lot of content and output, and trying to be a perfectionist, all have come down crumbling since becoming a parent. Because when I had my little one, everything just changed. It is as though source just came through and intuition, nature just took over. For me, I continued to focus on learning and listening. So I love reading books. I have a lot of books lying here. But at that time, with my little one, when I went out for a walk when she was very little, I just listened to audiobooks on Audible, because it was the best way for me to stay open to new ideas. And another thing that helped me a lot was connecting with one lady in specific through my mother's group. Because you'll find when you go to a mother's group, there are a lot of women, some you may resonate with, some you don't. And I'm very glad that I found this one connection with a lady who lived around the corner from us, but also who aligned with everything that we envisioned for our little one, including unschooling, including Montessori ways of teaching independence, and a lot of other subjects. But it's just so nice to find your tribe, because you feel you're not alone. So for me, it was really the books, the education, and connecting with like-minded people.
That's great advice. Definitely find like a tribe or a community of people that have similar beliefs or values as yourself. Because for me, like I see it's very normal for kids to grow up on iPads and technology, but I don't want to go down that path for my children, but also know that it may serve a purpose for them because that's the direction the world is going and is technology and whatnot as well. But I do find getting a strong community around you, listen to your intuition and listen as well. I think plays a massive part.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing. And especially when being a first-time mom, you're just not sure. You're not sure what's normal, what's to be expected, how it should be, what should be done. But as you go along, as you get to know your child better and better, it's just an innate knowing. You just know, or at least I did. You just know what's right, and you just know what works and what doesn't work.
Mm. And like, I know some people may think all this sounds a bit woo woo, but I know like some of the most successful people in the world practice like manifestation and affirmations and things like that. Like there's a very famous clip of Conor McGregor in the change rooms before his fight against Jose Aldo. And he's practicing that left hook. And he goes out into the fight, and then within 13 seconds, he does the exact same thing. So like there's so much proof that this all does work. And even yourself and even with myself, like we've got so many examples that practicing these things and bring so much positive change into your life.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Manifestation, I think the word might just be right because, like I said previously, a lot of people have a different connotation to it. But it is a technique that's used by professional athletes, by Olympic athletes, because it's literally training your brain to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. And it is such a powerful technique. And that's why I'm passionate about spreading the word, because there are so many people who can benefit from it.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like, especially on a subconscious level, because I feel like we've all grown up with certain beliefs and ideas and values. So really being able to reprogram yourself to sharpen the world that in the way that you really want to, I feel like that's key too.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, that has been the journey for me. Becoming a parent has been absolutely monumental in changing the way I look at myself, my own beliefs, my upbringing, what I thought was important, what I thought was right. Whereas now everything is like in flow, and it feels things are falling into place exactly as they should. Only because the movement for me this year has been to respond to life and not control life. And that's been an absolute game changer, to start to respond to life. Like in the personal development world, it's all about planning. And if you don't take control of your time, time will control you. In a sense, that's true if you're trying to work on a large business, if you're trying to work on specific goals. But once you start to truly connect with source, once you strip away the ego, and once you start to listen and feel your way into being, we are human beings. We are being, not just human doings all the time, which is what the focus has been. But when you strip that away, all of a sudden, opportunities will arise. And as you start to respond to those situations, everything will just start to flow.
Yeah, because you can't control everything. Like life can be quite unpredictable.
You'll learn when you become a parent, it goes every opposite way. I had planned the perfect birth, only to, I've written the perfect birth plan, which I've blogged about and shared with so many people, only to realize that my little one didn't want to come until 42 weeks and 1 day, and got induced and ended up with a C-section. So there you go. It always goes the opposite way.
It can be unpredictable for sure. You know, do
100%.
you feel like experiencing these things that we're talking about at the moment is like what really inspired you to create the program that you did, where it helps people burst through limiting beliefs and help them thrive and manifest their dream life?
Yeah, so this is basically a culmination of my own experience. What I've created is what I've gone through. And because I felt that changing your limiting beliefs and changing your subconscious mind have been monumental in my change in my life to create the life that I desired, I feel this is something that people can achieve themselves. People think there is some magic miracle out there. You have to do this specific manifestation technique, or you need to buy this or do that. You don't. You just need to put in the work. But a lot of people don't know where to start. And that's why I've handwritten all the meditations. It's a pack of six meditations, and it comes with a 50-page workbook as well. So each track is designed to help you through bursting through limiting beliefs, reprogramming your mind for positivity, for success, for wealth and abundance. Because at the end of the day, that's something everybody strives for.
I feel like getting something like a program like yours too is something that'd be very helpful, because I find when we start that journey, we can sometimes overcomplicate it too much within our own mind and try and do too many things at once, then get overwhelmed and give up on it all. Instead, having something that has details on how to do and what to do and having that guidance, I feel like is so helpful on the journey, especially when you're first starting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's especially why I created that. But just to relate back to my own journey, because you're right, I listen to guided meditations on Insight Timer, which is a platform that I'm published on as well. But it is a platform that has millions of amazing meditations on there. And every day when you log into the app, there are plenty of new meditations recommended based on how you feel. But I don't even look at that. I only go to the library of guided meditations that I know I like the voice of. I like the words they say. I like the tone of voice. Those meditations are my go-to because I know they work. And it takes out the guesswork. I don't have to go, what shall I listen to today? No, it is right there for me. It's downloaded onto my phone because when I sleep at night, I always put my phone on airplane mode. It's downloaded onto the phone. I listen to it and fall asleep peacefully, knowing that I'm reprogramming the mind.
You ever listen to your own meditations as a guidance, or do you more so like outsource them externally? Because I know some people may have a challenge with listening to their own voice or what it might not be. But with yourself, like, do you like listening to your own meditations to help for a bit of guidance?
Yes, I do, because often the meditation I write is because I'm at a specific chapter in my life that I felt there was not a meditation that could meet my needs. So I do listen to my own meditations, but I have to be cautious because being the type of person that I am, being a very perfectionist kind of person, I do listen. I think, the next meditation, I should write this, or I should say this. I should change that tone. I should, I'm constantly looking at it. How can I improve it? Whereas when you listen to someone else's content, you can listen, relax, and absorb all of that. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. That literally just gave me like a light bulb because like I listened back to like my podcasts, like analyze and see how I can get better as a host. But I never listened back to my podcast just to indulge in the information again. It's always critique and I don't really get to relax. But then when I put on someone else's podcast, it's literally mainly just relaxing.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's normal because, you're obviously out there being a creator. You're wanting to create amazing, or you are creating amazing content, and you're, you're growing constantly. But yep, I hear you with that because I'm in.
Yeah. Do you find that as well? Like, do you have that challenge sometimes when you do listen to someone else's meditation? Like you'll be halfway through it and then you're like, oh, I want to incorporate that, or I like that idea, or maybe this could have
Yeah.
been better if this happened instead. Because I find myself, I'll catch myself off guard. I'll be listening to a podcast and then like I'll be answering the questions in my head that they're asking on the podcast. I'm like, no, I need to stop. Like,
Oh, that's hilarious that you do that. But yes, I'm exactly the same. I'll listen to a podcast, an episode, like a meditation that I really enjoy. And I think, I could write this, I could write that. But this is where mindful awareness comes in. And I reel myself back in, saying, no, your purpose was to listen to a meditation in order for you to relax, unwind, reprogram your mind. Now is not the time to create. Now, if that message keeps coming back in my head, I write it either in my phone, or I always have, pen and paper ready for me to write down what's going on. Because the same happens when I'm journaling. I have a journal that I write in. And then whilst I'm writing, I think, I should do this. I should pay this bill. I should create this content. I should publish this on YouTube. I should post that on Spotify. Now, all that stuff literally gets pushed to the side on my sheet, and I continue with mindful awareness. I continue to bring myself back to that which I was doing.
I feel like it's such an important skill set that I feel we should all learn at school or through life, is really being able to cope and really be able to, because like this thing with meditation is, especially for myself, when I first started, I'd have all these thoughts in my mind. My mom was raised and I thought I couldn't control it. Then I came to realize that it's more so observing the thoughts and finding ways to let go and detach and be okay with it and be at peace with your mind and really have that mindful awareness. And I feel like before that, my mind was so chaotic because I didn't know how to accept thoughts, I didn't know how to accept things for being the way they are. But through meditation, you learn so much, like it's literally like creating so much calmness within your own mind. And I feel like it's such a great skill to have.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And that's what one of the reasons why I like training in the gym, but I also like training at home because then I set an example for my little one. And the thing is not just with training, fitness, it same goes for mindfulness, meditation, yoga, because all those things need to be modeled to children in order for them to learn. And unfortunately, that's not something that's done in the classroom nowadays.
Yeah, it's true. It's more so of them seeing it because kids do learn with their eyes.
100%. They don't follow through on the words you say, but they will copy what you model.
Mm. I feel like that's one of the really great things about social media is that we can be that model of that example as a social media presence. So when other people are flicking through their algorithm, they can see other people embodying that.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more because that's the shift I've had as well in order, not just focusing on feeling the inadequacy. Like when I see other women on Instagram or other families that are more rich, more famous, much fitter, have much more followers. For me, it's not about that anymore. It is about how can I serve? How can I bring the most value to somebody that's following me? And how can I inspire them to live a happy, healthy, and abundant life?
Mm. Well, I feel like that in return will give abundance back to you, but it's always good to not have the intention of that. Like you said, your intention is to help as much as you can. The intention is to try and provide as much value as you can. I feel like the more that we support the people around us and trying to help people, I feel like the more we also get back in life too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually what you're saying. It's the law of attraction. What you send out into the universe is what will come back to you. And that's something I talk about with, some of my clients that I coach as well. It's about what you give out, positivity, health, happiness, but also showing the truth of your journey and that comes back to you.
Yeah, because like if someone says, I want more love in my life, well, it's like go and spread more love to the people around you. If someone says, I want more happiness in my life, well, provide more happiness to the people around you. And the things that you want, provide that to other people. And I guarantee you start to feel that within yourself. You start to become more whole because energy is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it moves, it shifts, it moves around. So whatever you put out to the universe will always come back.
Yes, exactly. And that's where with people that are struggling with that, I always focus on the gratitude practice with them because gratitude is one of the feelings that's as close to the feelings of abundance as you can get. So that's, for your listeners out there, if you are looking for ways to tap into that abundance, the gratitude is a really good way to focus on everything that you already have instead of focusing on lack and stuff that you don't have. Because it's right, once you shift that energetic shift into abundance of you have so many things in your life already, just the fact that you're looking at this podcast or listening to this or with your headphones or in the car, look at all that which you have already. And the more you start focusing on gratitude, the more gratitude will come into your life. Because once again, when you look at the scale, I'll have to send you an image of this. When you look at the scale of positive and negative vibrations, gratitude is high up there. And the more gratitude you give out, the more will come back to you. It's the law of attraction. It's just how it works.
And what you said there was interesting as well around like we're somehow speaking through signals on a computer, basically on the other side of the world on a podcast, and there's people all around the world listening to it. Like I'm in Brisbane, Australia, you're in Dubai, and then someone might be listening to this in Paraguay. Like
That's right.
it's a very exciting time to be alive.
It absolutely is.
But going back to gratitude, like what does gratitude look like for you in terms of practice?
So for me, I've stacked the habit of gratitude first thing in the morning, literally the minute I wake up, or it's often when my little one, wakes up, mama, 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 next to me. I think, oh, what a blessing it is to be alive. It's literally that time, as soon as I wake up, that I think of, hey, I need to shift into this gratitude. And a couple of months ago, I started with the practice of mindful awareness, of being aware of the thoughts that I think of. But now I've come that far that I don't even have to think about it. Instantly, my mind will shift to gratitude. And the way I practice gratitude is I say, I am so grateful for my health, for my good health, because it enables me, I always include a reason, because it enables me to experience this beautiful world. Or I am so grateful for this comfortable bed that we sleep in, for it gives me a good restorative night's sleep and I wake up free from back pain, for example. And the more deep you go into that, the more reasons you give for that, the deeper you will connect with that level of gratitude and create a real deep connection and understanding of what it is that you're grateful for.
Especially with gratitude as well. I think going deep is important because I feel like when I hear people say that they don't feel any connection to gratitude, usually they are doing like a very baseline side of it instead of going deep and getting specific with it.
Correct. Yeah. And that was me a few years ago. Like, okay, I'm grateful for water. I'm grateful for food in my fridge. I'm grateful for fresh air. I'm grateful for my computer. But it didn't truly resonate because at that time I just didn't know how to do it. Whereas now I've adapted this technique from Rhonda Byrne from her book, The Magic. And in that, she says, from the bottom of my heart, I am so thankful for X because X. And the more I have on my phone, I have a pop-up that comes up. I use the app Day One for journaling. I've created a template in there with 3 gratitude questions. Every morning, same time, it pops up on my watch, on my phone. There's no escaping it because not every morning I get time to sit down with a pen and paper. At least I get to do it on my phone, and it's a constant reminder to practice the gratitude.
Yeah, I feel like setting alerts like that is great too because even for myself, I got to a point because recording podcasts, I wanted to really expand my mind so I can articulate my thoughts and what I want to say. So I decided to once a week write an essay on a random topic without any doing like knowledge, like without doing any research, without doing any in-depth information on that certain topic, but instead just think of something and expand my own knowing on it. But then the one thing that helped me stay consistent with it was setting a reminder. So every Friday, 7:30 p.m., this is what I'm doing. And that helps me stay consistent with practicing things that I know will help me grow and evolve.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea you're doing that because often, yeah, you're right. We're so bombarded from external content, and it is very rare that you take the time to sit with your own thoughts and your own knowledge. And I think that's times like that really relate and connect you back to your own knowledge and wisdom and achievement. And it's like, oh, hey, I actually do know a lot about that already. And yeah, I think that'd be a very good practice.
I also think it's a good way to understand what your beliefs truly are. Because sometimes you can get caught up in when you adopt other people's beliefs, you repeat information that you don't even have a strong belief about. But because you've heard it before, you're just repeating or regurgitating that certain piece of information. And when you sit back and think, you're like, I'm not even that passionate about that thing I just repeated. Like, I don't even know why I'm being a voice for this. So I find it's a really good way to really understand your own beliefs and values.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good one because you're right. We do hear content so often, and that's the subconscious mind. Unfortunately, it picks up all the negative stuff too that you are not aware of. It per se doesn't have to be negative, but you'll be surprised, like whatever your mind absorbs, it gets stored in your brain. So even the things that you say you just parrot someone else's content. Yeah, you're not the only one saying that because it just happens. You can't get around it with the amount of content you get bombarded with on social media, online, and even, as you walk in the shopping malls and that.
Yeah, most definitely. I'd love to hear from yourself, like what's some of the day-to-day things that you do to really help with, I guess, overall being. So whether that's spiritual, physical, mental, or the health overall, like what's some things you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so the minute I wake up, I practice my gratitude. Like I'm still laying in my bed. I practice my gratitude, say minimum 3 things that I'm grateful for. Then I will repeat some positive affirmations. It depends on the day. Often they're the same. Then I'll go get the little one out of bed. We go downstairs. I every day have my hot cacao. So I don't drink coffee. I have my hot cacao. It's got good minerals, good magnesium. I add in a little bit of Celtic salt, also good for the minerals. Bit of turmeric. And then I start my day focused on some of the tasks that I'm working on, which is creating content, sharing content, writing new meditations, and recording new content as well. One of the habits I've got myself into before I record is taking a real mindful moment to become clear on the intention. Because as you know, throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, your mood changes, especially as women with our cycles, the mood changes a lot. So I can't record every single day of the week because my mood's just not always up to it. And in order for me to record, I need to be really present and I need to have the right energy, because my voice is the instrument that literally transmutes the energy into the guided meditation. So before I record, I always take a mindful moment of what's my intention here? What am I recording? How do I want the audience to feel? And what's the energy I want to transmute through there? So that's a habit that's been really good, not just for my meditations, but also before going into meetings. That's a real, energetic practice, I suppose. Then before I go to bed, I listen to, actually after dinner, we go outside, have a little playtime. We always move after dinner, and I practice my poi, which I love doing. So I challenge my brain to learn something new. The reason I love it is because it's challenging, but I also know that my brain is capable of being pliable. I know I can learn something new, even though it's very hard. At the moment, I'm learning a trick that's, it's in different timings. So, with the poi, you can do at the same time, but if you do different time, and then we go backwards and forwards. So you're working the different sides of the brain, because naturally, I'm right-handed, the right side's very easy, but I love doing that because it's something that challenges me, but it's also something that brings me joy. It makes me feel good when I learn a new trick and when I master the skill, so to speak. It's all about every day I make sure I do something that I love, because not only does it keep my vibration high, it just, makes me happy, and it's something fun we can do outside while the little one is playing. And then before I go to bed, I always listen to a guided meditation.
I feel like that poi as well is like a form of mindfulness too, because I feel like a misconception of mindfulness is that you have to sit there zen, but mindfulness could be walking, it could be doing poi, it could be juggling, like it could be so many things.
Absolutely. And that's where people refer to, being in flow. That's actually a mindfulness practice as well, because you're in that state of complete presence. And that's where going to the gym for me is my mindfulness training as well, because I love working out. But at the same time, it's a mindfulness practice for me, because I'm mindful to stay off my phone. I am mindful to count my reps. I'm mindful to focus on my breath. I'm mindful to stay fully focused for the 30 minutes of training that I'm doing. And that's where, once again, it's about stacking your habits. It's about a lifestyle of mindfulness and awareness.
Especially with flow state as well, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with Stephen Kotler and his work. He has a book called, he has one called The Rise of Superman. He has multiple books on flow state. My favorite one is The Art of Impossible. That's a really good book on flow state. But he's a researcher, and he did research on flow state and the science behind it. And one thing that they came to the conclusion of is the brain releases all 5 of the feel-good neurochemicals when you enter flow state. So you get your dopamine, endorphins, adrenaline, and serotonin. All these get released when we're in flow state. And it shows like in evidence when we are in the flow state, we feel so connected. We feel our reflexes improved, our focus is sharper, and we feel just more whole and good. So doing things where you can enter flow state, I think that's such a great thing to practice too.
That sounds amazing. I haven't heard of his book. I've just written down the note. I'll definitely have a look at that because that sounds something that I should be researching and something very interesting. But it makes complete sense because it is in those times. I think many years ago, I listened to, I think it was Robin Sharma or Tony Robbins, one of the two. They said, you're in flow state. You've found your passion and your flow when you forget to eat and shit, is literally what they said. I can't remember who exactly said it, but it's when you're in that state and you're just completely absorbed. So I can only imagine that creates and releases all those 5 neurochemicals. And yeah, from personal experience, I've been in flow state and it's just the best. You're productive, you feel good, you feel content, like you say, improved reaction speed, all of that.
Somewhat euphoric, I find.
Mm.
Before we finish up here, I like to give our guests like the opportunity to have the stage per se and maybe share any thoughts that they have or maybe a message they want to share. Like, do you have anything you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap up?
I guess there's a lot of things I'd love to share, but the main thing for today would be to remind anyone that's going through a difficult stage that there is hope. There is a chance things will get better. There is a big chance that this is only temporary. And at the end of the day, it is your choice as to what you do with where you're at right now. Because somewhere out there, somewhere in the quantum field, there is another version of you out there that is abundant, that is prosperous, happy, and living their dream life. And everything is accessible to us. And this thing called time is just an illusion because everything is accessible to you. So don't be afraid to try something new, start a new habit, start something new that you love, reach out to a friend or a family member because you'll never know what comes from that. Positivity can come from any which way and it's accessible to all of you.
Amen. Caroline, thank you for joining the One Talk podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.